Greetings, whether you're watching live or on a playback, wherever you are on this bubble we call Earth. I'm Brother Minister Zumbi. Tonight, the topic is building or begging, and this surrounds I call it the Deion Sanders controversy. It's a topic that I was reluctant to address because of the emotional charge that it brought. But I think there has to be a balance of some critical analysis of the situation. Uh, what has the situation revealed? And moving forward, how should we as African people uh, move? And I think the ultimate question becomes, do we want liberation or better treatment on the plantation? Stay tuned. Like I said, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, do for self or suffer the consequences. How the hell do you make the CIA boy the hero when we know what the history has been between the CIA and Africa? Only when the father makes his transition to the ancestral realm of the Agun does the son truly become a man.
Yo, peace to the code keepers. We got Minister Zumbi back in effect. This time we're dealing with begging or building, the Deion Sanders controversy. Good brother, lay out your manifesto and let's chop it up, man. Let's chop it up.
Yeah. Like I had said in the intro, it was a topic I really was reluctant to address because of the dialogue that I was hearing, not only in media but also in the streets. It was one of those conversations I felt that you can't have with just anybody and everybody, because not everybody understands the different nuances. Everybody's looking at it from a very surface level. But I think what kind of convinced me to address it is sports journalist named Bomani Jones for ESPN and for HBO. If you ever listen, now the interesting thing about Bomani Jones, I think he's originally from Atlanta and he's third generation HBCU. I think he graduated from Morehouse. And the first time I was exposed to Mr. Jones it's an ESPN show. What's it called? It's set up like a game show. I can't think of the name.
All right. I don't know.
Yeah. So, Around the Horn. That's the name of the show, Around the Horn.
Okay.
And from there, I really liked his delivery. Has a very clear, precise radio voice. His analysis is very, very sharp. And then from there, I started following him on his podcasts and things of that nature. So when I started hearing his analysis, he just did an interview with CNN about the Deion Sanders situation. Kind of a slight debate with Stephen A. Smith on First Take. And then on his show, The Right Time, where he talks with another brother, sports journalist, Howard Bryant, where their analysis is probably the most objective, when you don't have all of that emotional charge dealing with the topic. And that's why I was initially reluctant to deal with it, but I think it may have to be addressed from a different angle.
Well, I'm glad you're addressing it because the good brother King Khan consciousness controversy. Our beloved Dr. Umar Johnson tapped in, and we'll quote him. And there's been a lot of other folk who've been tapping in on this Deion Sanders situation. So I'm interested in seeing where you go with this, bro. I'm interested. And the question, I'm ultimately going to ask is, what does this have to do with empowerment?
Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to kind of give people a timeline. You really didn't hear much about Deion wanting to coach at the collegiate level until while he was working for the NFL Network. Okay. He had already started a now defunct charter school right outside of Dallas. I heard there was a lot of controversy around that school. Okay. So, you would hear Deion said he wanted to get into coaching, this, that, and the third. And then the topic always came up about his alma mater, Florida State University, where he was a consensus All American. The dialogue kind of evolved. And then when the manifestation of the job for Jackson State came, he comes on. There's 2 interviews he did that really stick out with me. Okay. He did one on First Take with Stephen A. Smith. The second one he did on a podcast called I Am Athlete. Okay. It was what he said in the dialogue that made me edgy. When you tell me that God has ordained me or has sent me to Jackson State, in essence, to be Neo and rescue HBCU football from the Matrix, whatever the Matrix was, and you sold a lot of sizzle with no steak. Okay. A lot of sizzle with no steak, as far as I can see. And you were painting this picture that you were going to make Jackson State this destination. It wasn't going to be a jump off because you were committed to the university, you were committed to the players you recruited, etc. And so I watched this circus unfold, and unfortunately, it unfolded the way that I thought it eventually would, where basically,
hey, hold tight, bro, because I just got a message from Sarah Needle saying no sound.
No sound?
Yo, so everyone else tap in because we're not experiencing that. If you can hear us, put a 1 in the chat. If you can hear us, put a 1 in the chat.
Okay.
But yeah, continue your diatribe, bro.
Yeah. So when Colorado came with the bag, I knew he was gone. I knew he was gone because there were some other things that went on. Like, everybody knows about the crisis with black head coaches getting opportunities.
No. So, what is that crisis?
The crisis is, it's like, finding a needle in a haystack. I mean, we see what's happening in the NFL. There's really not too many black colleges at a FBS or a Division I level head coaches or even coordinators. Okay. And so we find Deion in a position to where he could help out other black coaches. But what do? You go hire a white offensive coordinator from Washington State, not for Jackson State, specifically to prepare your son Shador for the NFL Combine.
Wait. That's a power move, man.
No.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
But here's what I'm getting at. Okay, I already had a problem with, because you went and got a white offensive coordinator. There are 2 black offensive coordinators you could have easily talked to. Number 1, Jim Caldwell, who basically cleaned up and revolutionized Peyton Manning's game that ultimately got him into the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And Hugh Jackson, who subsequently was hired by Grambling. You could have had Hugh Jackson before Grambling, hired him. Okay. Then you go hire Mike Zimmer.
Wait, but let me ask you a question.
Okay.
You follow sports. I don't pay attention. Is that par for Deion's course?
In regards to,
is when in terms of, we're focused on empowerment. We're firmly focused on, we call our black empowerment. And no, we're not dumb. We're not looking at a crayon color. We don't think we come from a planet, a city, or a country called black. We're not talking about nationality when we use that term. Although, I do accept the term Moorish. I do accept the term melanated. I do accept the term indigenous, Indian, first people, African people, we're cool with that. So for those who are watching, particularly those from Crumb,
excuse me.
The master students, salute to the master students. When we use these terms, we're just using the colloquial version. So we know what we're talking about. All right. So
Okay.
in terms of empowerment, it always seems like Deion wasn't focused on us. He was focused on him and his first.
Basically,
Okay.
it's kind of like there's a line I remember in the movie Ali where Ali's wife Belinda is in an argument with him about why is he taking this fight against George Foreman, and the name Don King comes up, and she says, Don King, all he does, he talks black, lives white, and bleeds green. Okay. Let's just call a spade here.
Right.
Okay. I mean, okay, you've got that one picture up there with the chain. Okay. Many of you have seen the music video he did during his playing days called Must Be the Money. And if you remember, I'm telling you, okay, and then
I love this, man. I love Must Be the Money.
Yeah,
it sounds like a song from who's your boy? Atlanta. He represents Jermaine Dupri.
What they did, they basically, it was a parody off the old Secret Weapon song, Must Be the Music. That's what that's based on. Okay. All right, let me get back to my train of thought. So my problem is, number one, you came in selling something that you knew you couldn't deliver. That's number one. Then number two, you not only did you take advantage of the cultural mores of the people, but you took advantage of the spiritual. When you came in and said that God sent you here, I'm like, really? Like, you're that savior? So, and then, like I said, now somebody could, correct me if I'm wrong. What was his blueprint for building Jackson State from where it was to where he wanted to take it? What was the vision and the mission that he had for Jackson State? Okay. And I think those of us who have gone through that gladiator experience, who are either fathers or father figures or just men who knew what questions to ask him,
hey, yo, maybe God sent him for 3 years. That love moves.
No.
I mean, look, when we look at Yeshua or Jesus, how long was his missionary work?
But Jesus never sold you a lie either. I mean, let's just keep let's just call a spade here. Okay. And what really makes me edgy about the dialogue is that everybody wants to give Prime a pass because you want to feel good about something. That's why I really didn't want to deal with this, because everybody is already emotionally polarized on this topic. Nobody really wants to deal critically with what does this situation reveal, not only about Prime, but about HBCUs and about our collective mentality as a people.
All right. Well, this would be a good time to bring in Me's comment. How about we talk about the good he's done?
I'll let other people do that, because I'm just saying, because everybody wants to talk about the good. My attitude is I think the bad outweighs the good.
Well, hey, on code 24/7 says that Prime sold out. So do you think, and Umar, I'm going to pull up Umar's comment, because Umar was really interesting the way he said it. Okay. But do you think he sold out?
Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. said that sellout is the most overused word in the Black community. And the reason I agree with him when he said that is because people will show you who they are. It's a matter of, are we paying attention? Okay. Deion has always been driven by money. That's never been an issue. Okay. The problem is, why did you have to sell something that you knew you couldn't deliver? And what does that say? What lessons are we teaching the young people when we make them swallow our hypocrisy and then we tell them, get used to it, it's the way of the world?
Okay.
That's always been my issue. And see, there has to be a level of accountability laid at Deion Sanders' feet here. There has to be. Okay.
All right. Why does there have to be?
Because, okay, as a coach, you're coming into people's homes. Your job is trying to persuade somebody's parents,
right,
to send their son to you over a 4 to 5 year period. I guess I'm kind of talking ethics now. Okay. If you knew from jump that you couldn't deliver what you said you were going to deliver, then why say it? Why didn't you scale it back to where you tell the people, look, here's the reality. Here's what we're going to do year one. Here's where we want to be year two. Where's the blueprint? Okay. When Nick Saban came to Alabama, he came with what they called the process. All right.
You know what, you have an investment in this that I didn't see coming.
No. But see, it's not really. I don't want you to think, oh, I just watch sports all the time. But I kind of look at it from a different angle. Okay, where now I'm looking at, I like to call it the B side of the game.
What I'm saying is, like Love Moves says, she says you're assigning him Messiah status. That's a lot of responsibility. The guy never said he was perfect. He's just a man. Heard.
See, here's the problem.
Go ahead, respond.
He said it, not me. This is what he said. Okay. So
he called himself Messiah.
In so many words, yeah.
All right, give the quote again, man, because I'm trying to get the messianic complex in there.
Because, okay, and like I said, you'd have to go back to those 2 interviews that he did where he gave off this persona that he came to, quote unquote, save, represent HBCUs. He gave that narrative. He painted that picture. So this isn't me putting that status on him. He said it.
All right. Well, then that would, if that's true, and I believe you, bro, because you always bring the receipts. Hold on. Let me see what Love Moves says again. If a lady starts teaching elementary school in the hood and then takes a job offer as a principal in the suburbs, is she a sellout?
Oh, man. See, this is why I really hate it. Everybody wants to deal with...
I want to give salute to Love Moves, but go ahead.
Okay. And that's why I said, what is this really about? Okay. Is this about the bag? Is this about, and in the promo, I said, one of the things that we need to ask ourselves is, I forgot what question I posed in there. Oh, I think this is the question that we need to pose to ourselves. All right. Did we make the mistake of trying to view Deion in the way that we viewed HBCU legends like Willie Jeffries and Eddie Robinson?
All right. So do you think he's leaving Jackson State, using the Kwanzaa principle, uh, more better and beneficial than we inherited it.
I mean, for
What
me, I
is
think
that? Do the best we can in the way that we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial in the way that we inherited. I can't remember which one. I think it's Nia. All right. So is that what happened?
only time will tell. I mean, you came in for 3 years. You
Three.
brought a lot of hype. Okay. But on the flip side, you lost 2 title games. You lost to South Carolina State last year, and then you just choked last night to North Carolina Central.
All right. Well, see, that kind of brings me back to what, King Khan consciousness controversy said. So let me run that beautiful bean footage very quickly. So, King Khan consciousness controversy. So if what you're saying is right, bro, that he said, I'm on a mission, a 3-year mission. Who was that on a 3-year mission? It was a 3-year tour, 3-month tour. That was Gilligan's Island.
Maybe.
All right. So if he was saying that he was on a mission to change the value of HBCUs through Jackson State, and then he bounces after 3 years, I can see where you're going with that. But did he do any good, man? Did he leave Jackson State and HBCUs by a stretch more beautiful and beneficial than he inherited them?
And that's why I said it's multi-layered, because now we have to go back into history. When the HBCUs, during the let's say Jim Crow segregation, there was a lot of talent that was kept at these HBCUs, in part because of segregation. Okay. Once you start seeing schools like Ohio State, Michigan State, Oklahoma, Nebraska started opening their doors. Okay. And guys who were in the South who did have that opportunity, like Bubba Smith was from Texas. He went up to Michigan State. Okay. Because he couldn't go to Texas or Texas A&M. And then what you began seeing was the dismantling. Now,
okay.
And this is not a critique of Eddie Robinson, because I'm looking at him in context when I say this. Eddie Robinson said, I never want to deny any of my players not to play at the highest possible level that they can. He cared about them that much. He says, if you need to leave here to play at the highest and the best level, you have my blessing.
Okay? So should we bless Deion with Eddie Robinson's wisdom?
No, because Eddie Robinson never lied to us.
Okay. So is he, like On Code 24/7 said, is he a sellout? I don't see it. Maybe it's me.
Well, like I said, it depends on how you look at it, looking at his track record, who he is, who has he been consistently. Okay. And then to go to an empowerment phase. Okay. A person who I normally would not watch, Jason Whitlock, who has a podcast called Fearless, he gave his take on it, and he interviewed maybe three coaches, along with I'm trying to remember who else he interviewed, but he gave his own take on it. He basically says that Deion and Black folks failed in this because we're too busy begging for entry into someone else's house instead of building our own. Now, I would never have expected Jason Whitlock, of all people, to say that.
Jason Whitlock said that.
Yeah, but see, he says that we shouldn't have been surprised with Deion because by nature, Deion has always been a mercenary, where he will always sell his services to the highest bidder. Okay, so he kind of gives Deion a pass, but then basically blames black folks. Okay.
All right. Well, as I want to put a pause button where you are. So Emmy or me, I'm not sure if it's Emmy or me. Yo, why don't you drop in your comments you said he did a lot in 3 years. I would like to see anyone else do what he did. What did he do? Because and the reason I'm asking the question is because I don't follow sports.
Mm.
All right, I follow empowerment, and I think he made an empowerment move.
But for who?
But for who?
Okay. And see, I guess the thing for me is what do people really want out of their coaching experience? I think that has to be the question. Okay, what do we really want out of the coaching experience? If your objective is to be at a Power 5 school, okay, then just be upfront with that. But don't come with this thing about, oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the third, and your behavior betrays your tongue.
All right. So look at the players and the stadiums in HBCUs. All right. Well, I could say that the stadium in my beloved Hampton University is a really nice stadium. Norfolk State has a nice stadium too. I'm a Norfolk State dad, so HU grad, Norfolk State dad. Salute that. Here's the thing. He gave up part of his salary to help build the stadium, right? Yeah,
I mean,
he gave up part. He gave up part of his salary to help build the stadium. In addition, he was coaching high school teams or something like that.
Well, that's why I was going back to.
So it seems to me like when he talked about I'm going to save HBCUs, he may not have had a time period in his head, but for that 3 years, it sounds to me like, the turnout in the stadiums changed. The players, he recruited higher performing players. He helped increase the stadium. He gave up part of his salary, and that worked on the the gymnasium that they worked out at. So the gym facilities are better. The stadium is better. There were more people in the stands. So I'm seeing a lot that's seen. He may not have said, I'll be your savior for 20 years. He may have said, I'm gonna be here as long as I'm here. But I
don't know. But like I said, and maybe it's me.
What do you want from him?
It's not about what I want. See, that's not the thing. It's not about what I want. Okay, because there's 18 to 22-year-old young men who are looking at you. Okay. And you're not just a coach. Okay. You're also a teacher. You're also for many an example of what they think manhood is. Now, some may think that that's a lot to put on a coach, but I'm just looking at the reality and what my experience has been having played high school and college ball. And,
all right, so are we expecting too much from the brother?
I expect him to be honest and consistent. That's what I expect. And I expect him to Yeah, just to be honest, consistent, and congruent.
Congruent with what? With his messaging? Congruent with
Yeah, because like I said, don't come in my house and throw ear sex and hoe chatter to whether it's my son, my nephew, or whomever, and then you don't deliver. That's always been my issue. Okay.
all right. All right.
So
I
yeah,
see where
yeah,
you're going with it, bro. I see where
yeah,
you're going. Now,
yeah. So
now
it's kind of like,
if let's say, this is one of the things that Umar and Envy talked about, and we're not gonna play the whole clip. I don't want to
mm,
have any infringement on their
yeah,
copyrighted material, but there was a possibility that a pipeline could have been developed. So he was there for 3 years, and the next person in the pipeline, he could have gotten another retired NFL, one of us, to take over and continue that. Or he could have had, there was a lot of things that could have happened.
mm.
And so is that fault Deion's fault that he didn't create it, or is that fault our fault because we didn't demand it?
Well, I think here's what I also see, and this is where now I have to uh, lay burden of responsibility with HBCUs. If you're trying to attract 3, 4, 5-star talent, okay, where is your infrastructure? I'm talking about your medical staff. I'm talking about having access to, uh, local hospitals, if that being the case. All right. Your academic programs, you know, have you set up a program to where your athletes are matriculating not just to be eligible, but matriculating towards graduation? Okay. Now, part of that is the coach's responsibility, but there's also a compliance officer as well as the athletic director that has to, make sure that that takes place. Okay. So that's bigger than, Deion or any other head coach. The infrastructure has to be there. So if you don't have an infrastructure, then what happens? You bring people into a house with no foundation that's unstable, and ultimately it crumbles, and then the athletes suffer. So for HBCUs, and I'll give you a prime example of that. Florida A&M, when they went and played UNC,
Okay.
all right, the university president, now I don't know what he was thinking, with the stroke of a pen, he moved Florida A&M from, I think, FCS to an FBS level, which made almost half the team ineligible.
Wait, what?
Yeah, made half the team ineligible because many of them were transferring in from either junior colleges or from other schools.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So a lot of their paperwork was like in transition. All right.
So are you saying that he raised the bar and it hurt people? Or are you saying that
Well,
he
the
raised the
university
bar
president.
and it ultimately helped people?
No, I'm saying the FAM university president, when he moved the team to the FBS level, it hurt the team because half the team was ineligible because their paperwork wasn't in yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's like he was so into chasing the bag and the spotlight of being, playing at this highest level until he didn't go through his due diligence, checking with his compliance officer to make sure, okay, if I do this, will these players still be eligible to play?
Are you insinuating that Deion did the same?
No, I'm just giving you that example when I talk about how HBCUs need to clean up their infrastructure if they're talking about bringing these 3 and 4 and 5-star blue chip athletes into their universities.
Okay. And that kind of
Okay.
goes along with what me says. Me says we can't rely on the NFL players. We need common folk to come in out and do the work. So so if you're saying that the HBCUs are having some challenges,
Right.
then it takes people like us to come in and do the work.
It's a symbiotic relationship. Okay. It's not okay, one, or the other. It's a combination of two. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
It's
All
a
right.
it's a combination of two.
Well,
And go ahead.
I was going to say, Roosevelt Green says, "I promise you, HBCUs will be kicking Power Five teams' tail in a few years." Do you think that could happen? Do you think that one of the benefits of Deion being there and making Jackson State University what it became is that going to advance all HBCUs where they can actually start beating up some tail when it comes to the Power Five teams?
Not all HBCUs are the same. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
that's right. Because Hampton is the better HU.
so
Hey man, they got my money, my money. Hey,
oh, Lord.
you.
Okay, so let's say not when I say not all HBCUs are the same. Okay, we've got those that are private, like Howard and Morehouse, etc. You
Okay,
have those who are, state universities like FAM, South Carolina State,
Norfolk State.
Norfolk State. Okay, so not all HBCUs are the same. And, and I could be wrong, but I don't think all HBCUs have the type of either funding or facilities to where they can,
Level up.
invest in their sports programs. Now
Okay.
I will say this. I think if I were coaching at a HBCU, with the way things are going now, part of my pipeline would tap into, how can I say, if I would tap into the junior college pipeline, okay, because it seems like junior colleges have kind of been forgotten because everybody wants to focus on the ones coming out of high school.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, because I remember when I played, everybody had access to JUCO players. Because you were bringing in players who were hungry. You
Okay.
were bringing in JUCO players who really wanted to, put in the work. And now what's happened is with all these deals going on with athletes getting paid, everybody's forgotten the JUCO. And I'm just wondering if HBCUs have forgotten that, junior colleges can provide you with a bridge. And that's why I look at junior colleges as is a bridge for your program as you build it. You're not going to use JUCO players as the primary, as the primary core of your team as far as players go.
So does that go with your begging or building statement? Are you saying that HBCUs are begging instead of building?
Well, I'll say this. I think, and I think this is what Umar was getting at. He saw an opportunity. Okay. He saw an opportunity for, I forgot how he said it. It's an opportunity to where if we want our own, okay. And I think a lot of people saw with Deion coming to Jackson State, Hugh Jackson to Grambling, Eddie George to Tennessee State, Mike Minter, who used to play for the Carolina Panthers, he's at one HBCU. Everybody thought that this would be a movement, not just a moment. Okay. I think that's what everybody was thinking when they saw Prime take the Jackson State position.
Okay.
Okay. And like I said, when you're talking about building something, that takes time. And that's why I said there has to be a symbiotic relationship between the coaching staff, the athletic director, and the university president. If you're talking about building something that will stand the test of time, okay? If we look at Deion's, who Deion played for at Florida State, Bobby Bowden. It took Bobby Bowden nearly 20 years to win his first national title. But the process that he went through to build Florida State into what it became, okay? Because if we have these type of aspirations of HBCUs being national powerhouses, that takes time, not just resources, but time to make sure that your foundation, you know.
All right. Well, let's go with Love Moves question. How is enough time this I think it was how much time would have been enough? How much time would have been enough for Deion to make the move for Jackson State?
It really depends. There's a number of factors.
Well, let's go with Jackson State.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How many more years do we need to give them?
I think Jackson needed, and this is just me, I always look at 5-year windows. Okay. From when you got hired to the end of your 5th year, we have an indicator to see where this program is going. Okay. Because depending on the condition of it, of what Jackson State was when Prime got there, did he have to house clean where he had to get rid of players from the old regime in order to, because remember, you got to build a culture, right? You got to put together a staff. You got to, because remember, you're driving the car. Everybody's following your lead in terms of your mission, your vision, your purpose, your philosophy. When you're talking about building, see, and the other thing that I hate in sports is that everybody has a microwave mentality.
Okay.
The whole thing about, Wakanda wasn't built in a day. All right. And,
okay.
and neither could have Jackson State been built. That's why I said, if people want these HBCUs to be national powers on the level of a Clemson or an Alabama, Ohio State, or whatever, okay, that takes time to build that kind of an empire.
All right. Well,
and then to maintain that empire over time.
Let me pause. Yeah, Love Move says 5 years. I can go for that. You said 5 years. Hey, for those who are watching, tap in. Give us a comment. How many years do you think it would have taken to really do what we're looking for? Would it have been 5 years? Because according to you, brother, it's not 3.
No,
according to you, it's not 3. So, hey, if you're watching, Love Move says she can go for 5. Love Moves can go for 5. Yazzo Fit Spiritual Life. Yeah, let us know. How many years you think it will take? How many years? And while the people are tapping in with their number, let me tell you what I think.
Okay.
Well, let me read this. College football has turned into a free agency. The days of long-term commitments to any particular college, university, and teammates are going to be few and far between. There will be a lot of moving. That's interesting. That's interesting. All right.
Yeah. So
when you start with begging or building,
right,
I think, from the empowerment lens that I kind of look at everything, were we begging Deion Sanders to stay and build something that we could have built? That's the question that I lay. Are we expecting Messiah Sanders, Messiah Prime, or any NFL player who we think are like, to come and save us when we can do it for ourselves? Look, when I was at HU, I stayed at HU, I'm old school.
Okay.
You see the platinum coming in, right? So I was in HU from 86 in the mix to 1990, right?
Right.
while I was there, I had a conversation with the vice president, good brother by the name of Cologne, Dr. Cologne. His son is Ademu Cologne.
Mm.
Uh, Ademu was a good bruh. Peace to the bruhs. Dr. Cologne was a bruh as well. Yeah, peace to the bruhs. So while I was there, I was complaining to the vice president, Dr. Cologne, and I was like, look, man, Dr. Harvey has all this money. Hampton University reportedly has all this money, and we have some issues in our dormitories. You guys need to put the students first. And this is what Dr. Cologne told me. He said, young man, he schooled me. He said, young man, if for 20 years not another student darkened the steps and the hallways of this great university, we would have the amount of money needed to pay everybody on staff and to take care of all the buildings and properties. If no student comes for 20 years, we have enough money to take care of everything. And after that, he shared with me that you have to put the institution first so you can serve the students. And it really kind of changed the way I looked at things. So are we putting the NFL folk, the superstars first, thinking they'll save the institution? Or are we building our HBCUs? Are we building our communities? Are we building our families in a way where if somebody rich and famous comes in, that's a benefit. It's a blessing,
right?
But it's not needed. Because the way we're acting right now is like, we need Deion. No, we don't. Bye, boy, bye. However the girls say it. We don't need him because, look, he's not the only NFL player. Also, he's not the only great coach. Also, he's not the only person who can give up a little bit of resources to make sure that we further our agenda. And our agenda is building. Our agenda is becoming more empowered than we were today. We need to be able to say, because I hit this campus and the legacy of this school is more beautiful and beneficial than I inherited it. And that's what I was taught when I started at Hampton University. That's what I was taught by my parents. You know what I'm saying? So my point is, we begging for folk to come save us, but we can build for ourselves. That's how I looked at the begging and building.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, and with the whole begging and building, and I think my take on that is when we have an opportunity to build, okay.
Yo, that comment is fire. We are all called by the Almighty if you listen close enough. All right, continue, bro. I'm sorry. Okay. That one hit me. That one hit me. But a lot of people are like, I got 5 on it. 5. So everyone's agreeing with you. Go ahead.
Okay. So what was I talking about?
Begging or building?
Begging and building. Okay. So if there's an opportunity presented to you to build, okay, and it always goes back to there has to be a generation. Dr. Clark says that there has to be a sacrificial generation to lay the foundation. There's really no other way around it. It's like everybody wants something, but nobody wants to be the generation that has to set the foundation for future generations to build. So the question now becomes, who's willing to be that generation to lay that foundation down? If you want to have the type of success that these Power 5 conferences have.
Well, hey,
and like I said, that's a long-term commitment. Okay.
Well, like me says, we have the money. It's the behavior of man that is flawed. If we had our priorities right, then we would have the group economics like I want to leave that out because I don't want to YouTube to stop the video.
So it's and then also I have to look at HBCUs. Have HBCUs betrayed their missions from their inception?
Well, hey, you know what? That's a great question. That's a show for another show.
Right. But just to say, because we're not just looking at Because remember, first and foremost, we're talking about academic institutions of higher learning. Okay. And we want to make sure that whatever the mission, vision, and purpose of these HBCUs are, that we don't betray them for the bag.
Okay.
Okay.
So you saying that
And
we got to put us first?
right. And I think what was disappointing with the whole experience with Prime, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, has he ever mentioned Willie Jeffries or Eddie Robinson in any of his interviews or press conferences?
You asking the wrong one. I follow
No,
hip
I'm
hop.
just,
I
putting that
follow
out there.
DJs. I follow music. I follow
Right.
women.
I'm just putting that out there for the. I've never heard him mention any of the HBCU legends.
I'm not sure if that's part of his lexicon. He's not a HBCUer.
But if you're going to be that, wouldn't it behoove you to at least get to understand the history?
Well, hey, from what I'm seeing, man, he was there for 3 years and he did some stuff. But so let's bring this home, man. Let's bring this home. It's almost around the hour. We try to keep it around the hour. Begging or building. You have some strategies. You have 3 strategies, and normally your strategies are tied to finance.
Yes.
But when we talk about finance, we talk about these strategies. Finances are resources. So I want to see how you flip these strategies to deal with the resources. So
okay. So
being a $20 revolutionary, how can we apply that to this situation with Coach Prime?
Okay. So being a $20 revolutionary, I say this. Make a $20 purchase each week from a Black-owned business, whether it's e-commerce or brick and mortar. Now, I know you and I, we remember back in the 90s when everybody was buying these HBCU sweaters and hoodies. Okay. Who's the company that was doing that? Because let's say if that company is still around and we start buying it, now all the licensing money gets to go back to these HBCUs, at least into their athletic programs.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay. So if you celebrate Christmas gift giving, consider buying some HBCU paraphernalia from a licensed dealer, so the HBCUs get them. Okay. All right.
Okay. So that's one way, because yeah. So, and then the next one that you're putting out here. Okay, be a cop. Now, this applies really like with intellectual property. Cop means being a creator, an owner, and a protector of whatever it is you create in terms of intellectual property. Okay, because we've had too many horror stories about us creating things and then we don't have the protection, or we don't own the licensing to certain things. Okay, so that's being a cop. And I think the next one you talk about cultural tithing. Now this fits here.
So we did be a cop.
Yeah, be a cop. The thing about being a cultural tither is this. In my book, I talk about, okay, there's a book. Okay. In the book, I talk about cultural tithing, where I say a dime out of every dollar should go to what I call a race first organization. We've got 107 HBCUs, according to the U.S. Department of Education. For all you alums, when they mail the thing out asking for donations, how much do you give back to your alma mater?
Wow, I have to admit, bro, I give the Great Hampton University lip service more than I give them.
And then here's the other thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be financial. I mean, think about it. Somebody had talked to me on Facebook. They said they had a number of acres of land. They didn't know what to do with it. So I said, what's the closest HBCU to you? And I said, if you give that land to a HBCU, okay, especially if they have an agricultural department, so now you can bequeath that to them.
Or you can partner with them.
Right. Well, no, I'm saying bequeath it like once that person passes on. So that way, the land will stay in Black hands.
Well, I'm saying if we partner with them, then we can. I'm not saying it's a bad strategy.
Right.
I'm thinking partner. Like one of the things that the great Compton University has is I'm probably going to pronounce it incorrectly. It's a bunch of horses. It's an equestrian. They have an equestrian. I'm going to have to look that up. Yeah, it's an equestrian, I think, farm. And I was like, what's an equestrian farm? So I went to the equestrian farm. There was a bunch of horses. So, we're able to learn how to horseback ride. We're able to do a lot of other farming and horse things. That they were doing races. And there's a whole lot of things that they can do. And they partnered with a family that owned that land.
Okay.
So when Hampton wins, that family wins.
Okay.
All right, now I may have that story might be a little convoluted because I graduated from Hampton in 1990, so it's been a minute.
Okay,
it's been a minute, but I'm saying that we can partner or bequeath or give whatever. But I think your strategy is strong. I think your strategy is strong, bro.
Because when if you're telling me that you give a tithe to whatever your spiritual path is, that's cool. But when it asks, will you rob God? I also ask, will you rob your brothers and sisters?
Ooh, now that's an interesting thought. Okay. Will a man rob God? Because they do say that in a lot of the Southern churches just before it's time to pass the plate. Well, if you and I are the spirit having a physical experience, right? If we're God in the flesh, little g, depending on how you look at it, if we're the gods in the earth, peace God, if the Almighty dwells inside of you, however you want to look at it, if the Christ in me greets the Christ in you, however you want to look at it, I'm just throwing out a couple of ways that different people see, different cultural religious groups see and experience where the Almighty resides in you. If we God, good orderly direction, are you robbing yourself? That's a great question, bro. That's a great question, bro.
And so this is where you really have to say, okay, if these are our own, okay, then what are we willing to do? Because the only way you're going to do it is if people have a personal investment in these institutions. Okay. Let's take Earl Graves.
Okay.
How much has Earl Graves given back to Morgan State once he got Black Enterprise up off the ground? I think their business program is named after it, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting. You know what? I think that you're starting to give some examples that should be its own show.
Okay.
And I think the question of, the statement, look at the mega church pastors making multi-millions. Is that not exploiting God? Now that's interesting because I think we should make a show on that.
Now, here's what I have to say to that question. I've said this a lot.
Say it, and then we're going to bring this to a close.
Okay. Jerry Falwell and Oral Roberts have never been known as quote unquote prosperity gospel preachers. But the one thing I do respect about each one of those men is that each one of them left an institution. Jerry Falwell left Liberty University in Virginia. Oral Roberts left Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Where now you are educating people, you have provided jobs for people in administration, janitorial, etc. You got all these prosperity gospel preachers, and ain't none of them talking about building an educational institution, or we
got one talking about let's bring the weed in the church. Pastor Jamal Bryant. I'm minimizing and jokalizing, that's not a word. I'm making a joke out of a statement and in a process he's working on it, which is something that should be a different show as well. Bro, let's bring this to a close, man, because of course you bring the receipts. You can bring all the receipts all day, every day. Last words.
The last words is this, okay? Don't just talk about supporting institutions that you say that are yours, okay? You have to put your time, your talent, and I forgot the other one. But basically, you know what I mean. Basically, you have
time,
to put
talent, and treasure.
That's what it is. You have to put your time, your talent, and your treasure behind these institutions if you want them not just to survive, but to thrive. Okay. So we have to start putting our money and everything else where our mouth is.
Wow. You know what? And I think that really relates to these last two comments. Churches are supposed to be building financial institutions. They are the new banks. And AW says, when I saw AW, I thought A&W root beer. All right, I'm old school, right? HBCU is underfunded by billions. Black people giving back is not the answer. Well, I would say it's not the entire answer. Well, let me continue.
Well, see, here's
you know what?
but see, here's my thing, okay? There's a thing called the corridor effect or the corridor principle, where basically it says nothing happens until you begin moving towards a goal you want to achieve. Okay.
Nothing happens until you do.
Yeah, until you start moving towards it. Then you'll have doors open for you. Okay. So no matter whether the government gives it to you or not, are we giving ourselves what I call internal reparations?
Ooh.
Okay.
Another show, bro.
Okay.
Close this baby up.
Right.
Let's close this baby up, man.
Okay.
You just did your last words. Hey, code keepers. We need to come up with a term for those who follow precise thinking. You know, for those who follow Get on Code, they're the code keepers. So code keepers, we love you. Hey, for those who follow Crumb TV, the master students, we love you. We got to figure out one for precise thinkers, man.
Yeah.
All right.
We really do.
We do. But yeah, you can thank me later.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
Hey. Code keepers, master students, people of the world today, drink your water.
Indeed.